the Department of Justice Inspector General's report on FBI surveillance of the 2016 Trump campaign will finally be released to the public this coming Monday. Investigative journalist John Solomon reporting that he expects Michael Horowitz to, among other things, identify between 6 and 12 failures, mistakes, acts of misconduct, and he expects at least one, if not more, referrals for prosecution. Here to talk about his reporting and much more tonight, award-winning investigative journalist, Fox Business contributor John Solomon. John, great to have you with us.
Good to be with you, Lou.
Let's start with a development here that the phone number that Schiff put out is one of the generic White House numbers, did not specifically refer to the Office of Management and Budget as Schiff's folks claimed. Your thoughts?
Yeah, listen, if the goal of Adam Schiff and the House Intelligence Committee was to resolve factually what happened, they would have went and got the facts and found out before they put this information out there arbitrarily as a political payback to Rudy Giuliani or me or anyone else whose phone records or phone contacts were put into the public. It shows that the investigation hasn't dotted its I's and crossed its T's, and it's an embarrassment to the American people to have something put out in public only to learn that it's not an accurate story. So it's probably why our framers intended in the Constitution for our phone records and our personal data to have an assumption of privacy, free from the prying eyes of politicians trying to score points.
Well, I want to get to that issue with you specifically and personally, because you're a target of the Schiff's divulging of these records. And by the way, coming up with those records, under what pretext, I'm not certain. Perhaps you are. But I also want to point out this is Schiff now has a pattern of conduct, a track record of inaccuracy, outright lies, and it seems to me, to be taken heavily into account by the American people and others.
That's right.
His absolute disregard for truth.
Well, listen, he didn't actually subpoena my phone records. I want to be clear about that. He subpoenaed Rudy Giuliani's and Lev Parnas's, then extracted my numbers as the only reporter. Now, I know other reporters had conversations with those two men, but I'm the only one who ends up having his records released, and it makes me wonder whether it's a political payback. I know my friends feel that way, because a few months ago, I wrote a story exposing the fact that Mr. Schiff, Chairman Schiff, had met with Glenn Simpson at the sidelines of the Aspen Institute at a time when he shouldn't have been having contact with Glenn Simpson. It feels like a political payback, but at the end of the day, if he wanted to know what the calls were about, he should have done some more investigating before he put them out.
But indeed, he did divulge them, knowing full well they were your phone records, which, by the way, was within his power and I think responsibility not to release. It is an extraordinary abuse of both of his power and your First Amendment rights.
Well, you know, there's something, when the FBI does phone records, they have very special procedures for journalists, clergy, and attorneys. Well, you had attorneys involved in this and a journalist involved in it, and none of the same safeguards that the FBI does when they consider taking your phone record of an attorney or a reporter or someone like that. It's shameful, and I think there's a good constitutional issue here, and I'm looking with my lawyers to examine some potential remedies here.
Well, good. And I think, as the saying goes, sooner the better, because Mr. Schiff is running amok. The doubts about the Giuliani office calls, the Inspector General coming forward with his report, the long-awaited. We really must take note that we are now waiting for Inspector Horowitz for months on end every time he prepares a report. It is, in my opinion, derelict on his part. It is presumptuous on his part to think the American people should have to endure this kind of nonsense.
That's right.
And now we're being told through careful leaks, given great signals that there will be, well, disappointment aplenty in his conclusions. Your thoughts, and I know that you've categorized.
I don't believe that. I don't believe it. And what I would say is, anyone who takes the word of the New York Times or the Washington Post on anything involving Russia collusion does so at their own risk, because look at the record of reporting they had in 17 and 18. They built up a collusion story that turned out to be completely bogus. Russian disinformation funded by Hillary Clinton's campaign. My reporting indicates that this report is going to have between 6 and 12 serious issues that it identifies with
Right.
the FISA process. There's going to be an intentional falsification of documents. There's going to be the withholding of exculpatory information. There's going to be the failure to disclose derogatory information about Christopher Steele and his Steele dossier. Bad job at vetting and validating information from an informant. These are serious civil liberty issues, and there's no lipstick that you can put on this pig that's going to make it look good the morning after Monday.
Well, we also have very good news. 3 Republican chairs of committees are now going to investigate the role of Ukraine, are getting actively involved, including, and I should point out, because I've been very critical of Lindsey Graham as chair of the Judiciary Committee, he will be amongst those, he is amongst those 3 going forward with an investigation, amongst others, of Alexandra Chalupa and the Ukraine involvement. Your thoughts?
Politico in 2017 first raised this issue of Ukrainians trying to engage in the election.
Right.
In this spring, I was able to get the Ukraine embassy for the first time to acknowledge on the record, yes, Chalupa came, tried to solicit dirt on Trump and Manafort, and she had a scheme. If we gave it to her, she was going to try to throw some congressional hearing, a September surprise on Donald Trump and harm his re-election chances. Now, I also interviewed the person that these senators are seeking to interview, a man named Andrei Teleshenko, the political officer at Ukraine. He has a very compelling story. After Ms. Chalupa went to the Ukrainian embassy, he was tasked to go to the Ukraine Intelligence Service, Ukraine Prosecutor's Office, and get whatever dirt they had on Trump and Manafort. He brought it back to the ambassador. The ambassador says, I ultimately decided not to give that to the Democrats. This is going to be some exciting testimony if and when the senators get access to these people.
John, thank you very much. I want to close out with just one quick question. Do you think it's an accident that the Democrats have chosen Monday as their hearing on the same day as the release of the FISA report?
I don't, but you know what? At the end of the day, politics is politics. The American people will pay attention to that FISA report, I assure you.
And with that assurance, I'm confident. Thanks so much. John Solomon,
Thank you.
appreciate it.